political crisis in Rivers State. It's taking a totally new dimension. Former head of Rivers State Civil Service, Dr. George Onweke, has accused suspended Governor Similaye Fubara of ordering the bombing of the state's House of Assembly complex in 2023 to prevent his impeachment by lawmakers loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Fubara was, however, denied the allegation, or has denied the allegation, asking Nigerians to disregard it. Wike, who recently resigned as head of service, made the revelation during a news briefing on Friday. He claimed to have witnessed a bag of money being handed over to a former leader of the assembly who later became Fubara's chief of staff, Edison Ehie, to attack the assembly complex along Moscow Road, Port Harcourt. He said, quote, first, it all started with the River State House of Assembly, where Governor Similaye Fubara directed his chief of staff, Edison here, to burn down the assembly to avert his impeachment. That evening, Edison was in government's house with two other boys, including the former chairman of Obiakpo local government area, one Chijioke. I was there with them when a bag of money was handed over to Edison for that operation, though I do not know the amount inside. I want to tell the people of River State today that the House of Assembly complex on Moscow Road was deliberately brought down by Edison here under the instruction of Governor Simlai Fubara. I challenged him to an open confrontation, and I will provide more details. A day after that incident, I almost resigned, but I was very scared because I knew the power of a sitting governor. He knew that I was aware of the whole plan and that I was uncomfortable with the unconscionable act that is deliberate posture of innocence. So, a particular, we have a journalist who have been following these developments all the way to speak to us a little bit about this development. I mean, it's quite shocking what's really going on in River State. I mean, 1 minute we're thinking things that have settled. In another minute, it does look like the war, basically rages on. It never stops. It's just a continuous, non, no holds barred situation. Mike Obani, thank you for joining us. Truly,
Thank you,
truly,
Mr. Charles. How are you today?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Thank you so much. I mean, this development, I don't know if it is a political witch hunt or it is the politics that everybody knows. We know everybody who plays politics will like to paint the opposition black in order for them to look bad, so that they can feel that like they are on top of the whole game. But this has gone beyond just politics. It looks like a personal war waging against the suspended governor. What's your reading of what's going on?
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. I like what you people are doing at Signature Television. You are doing a wonderful job. Thank you for the opportunity you've given me to talk about the recent development in River State, where the former head of service, head of service you are talking about?
Yes, Weke, George Weke.
Yes, George Weke resigned. I want to state clearly that George Weke is a civil servant and not a politician. He's a civil servant and a chief civil servant for that matter. And for him to claim to be involved in strict political matters is what I don't understand. This is the first time I'm hearing that a head of service is so close to the governor of a state or a president for that matter in issues like this. He said he was around. He was there with governor when he instructed APA, his chief of staff, who was the former leader of the House of Assembly, to go and burn down the House of Assembly. He claims to have to be knowledgeable about so many things that happened in River State. And remember that he's a civil servant, not a politician.
Yeah.
I think the whole idea is to call a dog a bad name in order to hang him. Already the dog has been hung, by the suspension of Fubara and the declaration of a state of emergency in River State. Mark you, there is a groundswell of opinion that the action of Mr. President is unconstitutional. I have listened to so many lawyers say that the president doesn't have the constitutional powers to suspend a democratically elected structure in the state, a democratically elected governor, and also democratically elected members of the House of Assembly. The president does not have that power. The Constitution does not mean there's no way the Constitution. I am not a lawyer. I have also read it. I've been trying to find out where the president got that the authority to do that. I've not been able to locate it. And so what I think the president or his spin doctors are doing is to come up with this kind of allegation which we are getting from Mr. George Weke in order to change the minds of, not just the people of River State, but majority of Nigerians to now begin to give, the president, to say that the president was right in, declaring a state of emergency in River State and subsequently suspending the governor. I think they are just using Weke. And as a matter of fact, you ask yourself, why didn't he resign?
Absolutely.
Why didn't he resign when he got to know that the governor Fubara, his plan was to destroy public institutions in the state? At that point in time, he ought to have tendered his letter of resignation. He ought to have gone, public to say, gentlemen, Nigerians, this is what is happening. I think this is a man that's been bought over. A lot of people are hungry. Even those who are in a position, who see the money, who get the money, they are still hungry to get more. And I want to believe that he has been suborned. He has been hired. He has been paid to say what he's saying, at the moment.
Right. I mean, I'm just wondering how much can someone really bribe somebody to, sell off their conscience and sell off their integrity to the extent of, trying to bring another man down just because, the person is no longer in position.
This struggle has unfortunately turned out to be an ethnic struggle. The governor, Mr. Fubara, is an Ijaw man, and George is, even though some of these people who are Igbos in River State are claiming that they are not Igbos, but they should tell us where they belong to. They should tell us the tribe they belong to. So it's become an ethnic, some people have succeeded in turning it into an ethnic struggle, an ethnic clash. So Wike is there, even though Wike also does not believe that he's Igbo. He's trying to gather his kinsmen, and George Wike is one of them. To tarnish the image of Governor Fubara and to give the impression that what Mr. President did was right. Remember what I said initially is that the presidency or his spin doctors have seen that a lot of people who have spoken on the declaration of state of emergency have the opinion that the president's action is illegal.
Absolutely.
And therefore, they are trying to, create an impression that, well, if the president had not taken this action, Nigerians or Nigeria would have been worse for it.
But what do you think right now? Do you think by doing this, George Weke coming out to spill all of these against the suspended governor. I mean, it sounds even weird that I'm saying suspended governor. I mean, you hear of suspended, staff. You hear of suspended member of cabinet. You hear of suspended minister, but you never hear of suspended governor. Like it sounds weird in my mouth saying suspended governor. Anyway, it's a new one in our lexicon. So, do you think that people are buying into what George says? Because the narrative is now like, oh, the governor did all these bad things, and part of the reasons why, the media frenzy, was against the president, because Wike was alleging that the entire media was skewed against the president, that everybody, was condemning what the president did, that it was a cause of the media. The media did that. But from the hindsight, really, if as we had seen Wike doing this, I mean, I'm sure that he has just even done another press conference today. Apart from the one he did yesterday, there's another press conference that he did today, trying to corroborate what he did yesterday. And of course, his wife was also seen stating that her husband at the time was missing. At the time he was doing that press conference in Abuja, his wife was in Rivers screaming that her husband was missing. So I'm just thinking, like, do you think that the Nigerian people will will sink this what Weke is doing as a truth, or do you think that Fubara should watch out, maybe react, because I know he has reacted, but he reacted, passively, like he denied whatever it is that has happened. But for you, do you think Nigerians will be swayed with the narrative that Fubara was the reason why the president did state of emergency in Rivers?
No, not at all. They're just wasting their time. But what I really think is that you see Judge Wake or the presidency or Wake, they want to give, in my opinion, they want to give the president the
The reason.
excuse, yes, let me say, excuse for declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State. They also want to give an excuse for extending, because I think that if care is not taken, if Nigerians fail to speak up, those who are supposed to speak up against what had happened in the Rivers State, this state of emergency may not just last for 6 months. It might be extended to another 3 months or another 6 months. And if that is the case, we may find ourselves in 2026 when primaries will be held and all that. And at that point in time, Fubara may not be disposed, to submit himself for a second tenure, assuming that the state of emergency is lifted, midway in 2026. What I think is happening is that the handlers of the president or his spin doctors, they are looking for a way to paint Fubara black, really. But I don't think what they are doing, the Nigerians are going to, swallow, the information that they are dishing to the public right now. From an advantage point, I do know that a lot of people have spoken against, the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. So many Nigerians, even the ordinary man on the street, that one had spoken to, or they said they are of the opinion that what the president did is bad. So what Weke is doing right now, of course, he has collected his money. He has been paid to do what he's doing.
You think he was paid to do what he's doing?
They succeed or not is not his problem, really. Why did he run to Abuja? Somebody took him to Abuja. And you see, he's not going to come back to River State. Because if he's sure of what he's saying after his press conference in Abuja, he will come back to his house. But because he find that a sole administrator is there who supposedly may give him a cover or may give him security. But I tell you, he's not going to come back. And I'm not sure that the wife was given what the wife said. I'm not sure that the wife was aware of what the husband, was about to do yesterday, today. You know what I mean. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, the wife wouldn't have raised an alarm that the whereabouts of the husband was unknown, at least by yesterday. I'm not sure Nigerians are going to be swayed by what Weke is doing. The groundswell of opinion is that Weke has been bought over. He has been paid to damage the image of the governor to make it difficult, if not impossible, for the state of emergency to be lifted so soon in the day.
Right. But again, what do you think it will be in the mind of Wike to carry this kind of plan? Because all hands are pointing towards him as the mastermind of this statement released by Wike. It does look like he's even ready to do this statement, this press conference every day, because there's a second one that has just been released. What do you?
Do you know that doing a press conference in Abuja costs a lot of money?
Yes, absolutely.
It costs a lot of money. We're not talking about that. They're not going to be on the street. On the street of Wuse or street of Maitama. That's not where the press conference was held. I'm sure the press conference was held in a very prestigious hotel.
Absolutely.
In Abuja. And so many journalists, very senior journalists in Abuja would have been invited to cover that press conference. So it's not a couple exercise that he's doing. So who is paying for the press conference? Who paid for the press conference? That's the question Nigerians should ask themselves. So he's those who bought him over, are paying the bill. And he's not going to stop at that. He's going to, talk about so many other things, level so many other allegations against the governor, to satisfy the whims and caprices of his masters.
I mean, when you speak of politics, one would have thought that Wike, being the kind of person he is, after spending more than 25 years in politics, he would he would be able to do better. And teaming up with somebody like Jagaban, they call him Jagaban of Africa for a reason. One would have thought that they would do better when it comes to politics. Is this the kind of politics that we were expecting from a person that is as big as Tinubu, and teaming up with Wike, who has done 8 years as governor and so many years in other positions that he held in Rivers State? Is this the kind of politics that you expect them to play? I mean, it looks and seems so cheap. What do you think?
Yeah, from the benefit of hindsight, from what we have seen over time, it's unfortunate that most of our politicians are behaving, in worse than motor park towns. The kind of people, for instance, the kind of politicians who are in the National Assembly, you recall the altercation, the shouting match between Senator Nwa Oboshi, yes, and Dr. Mrs. Obi.
Yeah. Onyedikachi Weboy.
Yes, the senator representing Ebonyi Central.
Ebonyi, yeah.
Nwaoboshi, the clash he had with Obi
yeah,
a few days ago. All right, it's not expected of a senator, what the people will call distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So you find that our politics is populated by people who behave like thugs. I'm sorry to say, indecent people who have who are bereft of values, people who have no conscience, people whose main purpose is to grab power. And if you're a politician and your main purpose of becoming a politician is to grab power instead of serving the people, you will do worse things, than Wike and his co-travelers are doing. So these people have no conscience. They can do and undo. So one is not surprised that somebody, a head of service, could be brought over to pour venoms on and to make these frightening allegations against a governor. So for me, the people we have as politicians, honestly, do not qualify to be elected into public office, of course, respectable public office. Somebody who has been a governor for a local government chairman, a governor for 8 years, he had no challenger in Rivers State, Wike, when he was governor for 8 years.
Absolutely.
He was everywhere. Nobody opposed him. Nobody challenged him. And he gave a series of interviews to say that once he leaves the government house as governor, he will not procluse him to what his successor is doing. I've watched some videos, where he granted interview to say that he's not going to play godfatherism, but that is exactly what he's doing now. So any politician that has no conscience will do what Wike is doing. How can you are not a member of the APC, you are a member of the PDP, for instance, and you, for whatever reason, you allow the opposition party, so to say, or rather the APC, so to say, to take over your state, or rather allow an APC candidate to win your state as a governor, a PDP governor. No matter what's wrong you felt was done to you, your loyalty ought to be to the party, the PDP, and not to the APC. You succeeded in denying the APC presidential candidate the leeway, the freedom to get votes in Rivers State. Those votes went to the APC candidate, whether they were manipulated or not. But at the end of the day, we were told that the APC scored higher than PDP in Rivers State. Okay, so after doing that, you went to the president and told Mr. President, you can see I delivered you. Let me be this or that. And you accepted to serve in an APC-led government. Meanwhile, there is no agreement between APC and the PDP as to
allowing you serve in that government.
As to give support to the APC to succeed in the government, like we had during Shagari's era, where we had, an agreement between MPN and MPP. There's a particular name, we call them now. So, but there's nothing like that, no agreement. But you left your party, the PDP, to work for the APC. And that notwithstanding, you are still struggling to destroy you still claim to be a member of the PDP, and you are doing everything to destroy your own party. I'm sure that if his ambition is to run for president in 2027, he's not going to contest on the platform. He's not planning to contest on the platform of the APC.
Of course.
Right? He will still come back to PDP.
Of course.
So he wants to put everybody down. He wants to trample upon everybody so that nobody will be strong enough to oppose him in 2026, because that's when the presidential
Primaries comes on. Yeah. You're right. You're right, really. But then, how do you think Fubara should be reacting? Because it does look like his response have been passive. I mean, the response that we're getting from him have just been passive. All of the allegations thrown at him that he masterminded the bombing of the State House of Assembly, he masterminded the bombing of the pipelines. He wanted to bring down the government of Tinubu.
How would he bring
So
down
many
the
other
government
things.
of Tinubu?
So I'm wondering, what should Fubara be doing? Should he be also giving conferences, press conferences, in order to respond to these allegations? Because like you mentioned, the HOS is not alone in this. He may have been told to do what he's doing. He may have been sponsored to do what he's doing. So what should be his response? Should he be doing press conferences to debunk these allegations, or should he just be putting out statements debunking it? And how do you think Rivers people should be reacting to some of this callous news that we're hearing?
No, Mr. Charles, like I told you, the most Nigerians have made up their mind to the fact that all the things they are doing now is to get Nigerians to change their minds about the legality or otherwise of the president's action. Fubara is on suspension, and if you have noticed, he has not come out to address any press conference.
Mm-hmm.
All that he has been saying are coming from his chief press secretary,
right?
And it's going to be like that for some time to come.
So you don't advise him. You don't advise him to come out himself to give press conferences.
No. He's not. I don't think it's necessary. He has his own media people that should do the work for him. I don't think he should. If you look at it, Wike since the suspension of Fubara, declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State, and subsequent suspension of Fubara, Wike has reduced the level of his public outing on Rivers politics.
Right.
So I expect Fubara also. Of course, I expect Fubara to do the same line. I don't expect him to come out to bandy words with George or whoever person. So his media people are going to be responding to some of these allegations. And going forward, Nigerians know the truth.
But what's the fate now of Fubara really? With all of these things going on, who knows who would resign tomorrow? Okay, right now the student administration has asked every political appointee in the government of Fubara to stand down. So they are now out of service. Who knows who's going to come out next? To release statement and to make public statement about the government and governance of the suspended governor. So I'm just wondering, how long would he stay out, not respond by himself with these humongous allegations? Because again, this is also planting some seeds of discontentment, and also maybe also telling the president to go on with the so-called state of emergency, because the Senate, the House, the National Assembly had given him the powers to stop at any point in time, to truncate the state of emergency. So who knows whether this is a grand plan to continue with this state of emergency? Probably
that's
should.
What I said. That's
yeah.
What I said earlier. I said that earlier, that this is the game plan is to create impression that, look, this man wanted to destroy Nigeria. This man, Fubara, wanted to overthrow the government. Should we allow such a man to come back to office so soon? Because if you look at the activities of some human rights organizations, their intervention helped to insert certain clauses in um, the state of emergency rule.
Right.
That if there is an improvement of security and peace in River State, the state of emergency should not be allowed to get to 6 months. Okay, that if tomorrow, for instance, if in the next 2 weeks,
right.
next month, that peace has been restored in River State, and the sole administrator, agrees, and thinks that there is no need to continue with the state of emergency. The government, that's the federal government, can reduce the number of months that the state of emergency was originally scheduled, to last. So, with these kind of allegations and all that, and if you, for instance, if the state of emergency is removed today, Fubara will come back tomorrow as governor of River State. He will still make his plans of how to, contest in 2027 for his second term. So the whole idea may be to shut him out of the political arena, so that he will not even think about coming back in 2027 or making the necessary plans, organizing, the PDP in River State to stand for an election in 2027.
All right. Speak to us about the entire implications of this, because again, there's always going to be a precedence to this. We all know what the current president faced while he was governor of Lagos State. Between 1999 and 2007, between him and OBJ, and we understand, how Nigerians rose up to that occasion, trying to stop him, stop Obasanjo from doing that. The next government came and paid all of what was held, and even the courts actually said at the time that it was illegal to have held local government funds. So this is somewhat a precedent. Going forward, do you see another president coming to, give state of emergency or order a state of emergency, removing a governor unilaterally? Do you see that happen? What is the broader implication of this? And secondly,
what is going to happen is that, the PDP, the states controlled by the governors of the PDP, they have gone to Supreme Court to challenge the action of Mr. President.
Yeah.
So all eyes are on the Supreme Court to give a verdict on these the legality or otherwise of the president's action.
Well, I'm not preempting.
I think that whatever the Supreme Court says about this action will form will give us a clear picture of what the next president might do when it comes to a declaration of a state of emergency. Don't forget the fact that Jonathan declared a state of emergency in 2013, yes, or 2013, in 3 states in the north. And he did not remove elected governors and members of the House of Assembly. Don't forget also the fact that a few days ago, the same Jonathan, declared the state of emergency declared by the present administration as illegal, and anti-democratic. So with all these, even though most Nigerians have lost confidence in our judiciary, I think at times it has come to a point where the judiciary will stand up against any anti-democratic actions. Because, like I said, I don't imagine a situation where the Supreme Court will rule that the president's action is correct. But if you read Section 305 of the Constitution that talks about the conditions precedent to a declaration of state of emergency, you cannot find, there's no way the Constitution provided that the state governor will be removed members of the House of Assembly would be suspended or whatever, And we have a sole administrator in Rivers State. If you look at Section 188 of the Constitution, where the Constitution laid the procedure for the removal of a governor, you see state by state what the members of the House of Assembly are supposed to do before a governor is removed. And if a governor is removed, who takes over from the
Absolutely.
governor? And there is no linkage. There's no linkage between Section 188 of the Constitution and Section 305 of the Constitution. There's no linkage. If there had been any linkage, one would have said that Mr. President borrowed his reason for removing suspending Fubara from Section 188 of the Constitution, which laid the procedure for the removal of a governor. So you find yourself in the whole thing. You look at the whole thing as political. I think what is happening is that the APC want to have a foothold, a strong foothold in the River State. And that's why we are seeing all these. It's not that the president does not know that it is wrong for him to suspend an elected governor. Members of the House of Assembly. It's about the political consideration outweighs what the constitutional provision. So going forward, I want to think that the Supreme Court will stand up and do what is correct.
Do you think the Supreme Court? Do you think Supreme Court as
I have that feeling.
as presently constituted?
Yes.
Do you think the Supreme Court, as presently constituted, would do the right thing? Because these days it's not even about whether the Supreme Court should do the right thing. A whole lot of persons have been pointing fingers towards the current administration, giving the kind of love it is showing to judiciary. Very recently, Wike was blamed or was accused of bribing the judiciary, not necessarily bribing them with money, because you can't prove that, but with the welfare it's giving them, the building of accommodation that is given to them, it will mean that he's doing this to get favorable court pronouncements. To that extent, do you think the Supreme Court will do the right thing in this direction?
There is a limit to everything. There is a limit, and I think the Supreme Court has come to that limit. The limit of standing up to unconstitutional action. Because they will be creating a precedent if they give legal backing to the action of the president. It's not. The facts are there. The provisions of Section 305. Okay, let me even tell you. That Constitution says, that provision, that Section 305 talks about that the president has power to declare a state of emergency when Nigeria is at war, or Nigeria is at the verge of going into a war, or when any part of, there is a breakdown of law and order in any part of the Federation. So I want you to look at this aspect critically. Does it mean that if Nigeria is at war or is at the verge of a war, the president declares a state of emergency, will the president suspend himself as president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces?
Of course not.
Suspend himself? So if he suspends himself, who takes over? Will he suspend himself and suspend the
National Assembly?
Vice President? Okay, I think that that section 305, what that section 305, in addition to Nigeria being in a state of war, or that aspect of the Constitution has in mind things like natural disasters like flood, okay, like fire, these are emergencies that I think natural emergencies that I think that the framers of that constitution has in mind. If the president is using that section to give credence to his action, it is using that where in that section of the constitution, where did it say that a sole administrator will be appointed? The sole administrator is not seen anywhere in that in the constitution. It's having the position of a sole administrator. Where did they get the name sole administrator? Because the constitution would have made
provisions for that.
Made it clear that when if this thing happens, look at the name that you will call whoever is going to take over, or rather whoever is going to administer the affairs of a given state. So they got the sole administratorship from nowhere. It is not in the constitution, and anything that is not in the constitution is null and void. So where did they get the name? Where did they get the name of sole administrator? The constitution would have provided for the sole administrator, just like the constitution in section 188 made it clear that if the governor is removed, his deputy will take over. If the deputy goes along with, if the governor and the deputy are removed at the same time, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House of Assembly will take over. In that order. So it's very clear that the president has gone beyond his constitutional powers, and I think there is a limit to every unconstitutional behavior or unconstitutional act, which I think the Supreme Court will stand up and correct.
All right. Fingers crossed. It's not like I'm trying to preempt you, but the latest developments out of our courts these days, doesn't really show that they are willing to do the right thing. I mean, I'm not being pessimistic, but I'm just stating what I feel as an individual because I am a Nigerian. So my feeling might just be one drop in an ocean, but that's what I
No, you are right. You are right. Really, you are right. If you look at what happened in Abia State during the 2023 election, in previous elections we had the INEC, the INEC in Abia State being bought over by the sitting governor. We do know that in 1999, the man who later became the governor of the state did not win that election. He didn't win the governorship election. In 2007, the man who won the election did not win. It has been like that until 2023, when one woman, a teacher, a professor, a vice chancellor of a federal university of technology of Owerri, stood firm and was courageous and said, no, enough is enough. The winner of this election will be declared. I'm not going to receive bribe from anybody. Okay? And she stood her ground and announced the right result. So I see a situation where one of the judges in the Supreme Court, one or two judges of the Supreme Court, will stand up and say, enough is enough. What we are doing is bad. Let us follow, or let us do the right thing. That is the kind of thing I expect to happen among the justices of the Supreme Court. At the point, they will disagree, and you do know that thieves disagree at one point in time.
All right. Mr. Mike, many thanks for your time. We truly appreciate your insights on the program this afternoon. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Thank you.
All
thank
right.
you. And thank you very much for having me.
All right. You're welcome as always. So, latest development out of Rivers State. I mean, 1 minute we're thinking that things are cooling down, especially with the suspension of Rivers State's governor, Fubara. In another minute, and you are thinking, well, everyone is going to rest now. But it does look like there's even a sinister plan to continue with this plot in order to keep Simlai Fubara out of the government house consistently, continuously, incommunicado, in fact. I mean, if there is a need for anything to change, even if the sole administrator is going to be asked to step aside by the end of the 6 months, maybe there's another plan to reinstate the State House of Assembly and then have a deputy governor or the speaker become the governor. You know, I'm just watching what's going to happen. With this latest development, there's already a grand plan to change the trajectory to make people believe what they are doing. But I really don't think there's a lot of persons who would believe what the moves that these guys have made in the last few days, having to have the HOS resign his position, and not just resigning, coming to lay all form of allegations against Fubara. I mean, if for anything, I believe that if he had any iota of decency in him, he would have resigned at that time. He would have left at that time. He would have said, you know what, I'm done. I can't stand this. But he was there when the so-called bombing of the State House of Assembly that he accused his principal for. He was there when the so-called bombing of the pipeline was done. He was there when monies are being exchanged, and he can't even deny that some part of the money was not given to him. He said he was there when when the plot was hatched in order to the meeting of leaders of militants group. That he was there, he was there, he was there. I mean, that could have been something else that he would have stood for. So apparently, if he didn't resign at that time, then why is he speaking to us about it right now when his principal is no longer, on the saddle? Beyond that, in fact, this is reminiscent of what is playing out. Natasha Akpoti and Odwagan. Natasha Akpoti, before the so-called allegations of sexual misconduct by the Senate president, I mean, she never mentioned. This is going to be what now? More than a year since she joined the Senate House. She never mentioned that she was being harassed. She never mentioned that anything of that nature happened to her. It was when that she was asked to change her seat. That was when she started singing all sort of songs against the Senate president. That's what I see is playing out with this revelation that this Nweke man, the ex-HOS, is actually trying to do. I mean, everybody knows it's more like a hatchet job. The plan is to keep Fubara out of the government house as long as possible, give the president the impression, or give the Nigerians the impression that, look, the reason why the president did what he did was because, the governor was the problem. So it is unbelievable that these kinds of politics, I mean, I call it the kindergarten politics, because if I was the president, I would rather lobby the governor to defect to my party, or better still, find another way to lure him into giving me rivers. Because at the end of the day, it's all about getting rivers for 2027. That's the only thing that Wike is telling him. That what else is Wike giving to Tinubu that Fubara cannot give him? What else is Wike giving to Tinubu? Seriously, he's just promising him rivers money, rivers resources, rivers numbers, swing states to 2027. That's all Wike is giving Tinubu. Because what else is he giving to him? What else? What else? I mean, if Fubara goes to the negotiating table with Tinubu and tells him, okay, I'm ready to play that ball. I'm willing to give you rivers as long as you protect me. Wike is out of the table. But seriously, what possibly can Wike give Tinubu that Fubara cannot? And maybe I'm beginning to look at Fubara as someone who is not really politically intelligent. Like, can you just do something? I don't know. Do something. Play some cards. Play some balls. You don't be quiet about what's going on. I thought for one that with all of the drama that was being played in River State, he had the balls, to do things, to negotiate and get things done. But it's looking lately that he doesn't even have the ball. I mean, for somebody who is of that caliber and that nature, you would assume that he has some cards to play. But it's about time for him to play those cards. I mean, Wike he's been throwing all sorts of tantrums at him lately, including one of his staff. So he should be able to throw one stone at the other side, so that they'll see that he's working. I mean, we know if you look at the war between Gaza, Hamas, and Israel, Everybody knows that Israel is bigger, better in terms of ammunition, firearm, and all of those things against Hamas. But once in a while, you still see Hamas throw small bomb. Let's just tell you that we are here too. Like, you still see Hamas throw one or two bombs from one location, even with the so-called ceasefire. So, I mean, somehow you just Fubara has to throw something. He must he should have some cards to play in order to show that he is still in the game. He cannot just be quiet. He cannot just be allowing his aides to be responding to some of these things. But sometimes he has to come out to speak for himself. It's very important, frankly speaking. Or better still, maybe he has something off his sleeves that he's not, looking to explore right now. Else, I should think that maybe being quiet would be the best thing to do. Maybe when the time comes, we'll know who is who. Maybe that's the card he's playing. But then, if not for that, I frankly think that it's about time to throw all sorts of cards, exhaust all arsenals that you have in order to get things done. That's a personal thinking. Well, tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Thank you for joining us. God bless.